What's going on, everyone? We are back with a brand new video. And before we get started, let me lead off with now what's becoming my normal disclaimer that I am in the mobile studio, the four-wheel studio, aka my car. So if you do experience any changes in the normal audio quality, please attribute it to that. Thank you. With that being said, let's jump into today's video. And so got up this morning and was perusing, scrolling around the interwebs, seeing if anything news or noteworthy had happened that we needed to comment on, talk about today. And I came across this tweet from former NBA player, 17-year NBA vet, and he is now, I know he does color commentary for the Suns, and he's got a show on Sirius XM, former NBA vet Eddie Johnson. And so let me set this up for you. So, as you know, if you watch this channel, you obviously know, Dan Hurley, current UConn coach, told the Lakers thanks, but no thanks in terms of becoming their next head coach, which I think was a smart move, because who wants to associate themselves with that dumpster fire that is the Los Angeles Lakers at this moment in time? So, it's going back to stores, right? So Eddie Johnson comes in, and here's what he has to say. Here's what he said, and the tweet's coming up. He said he did not want that pressure. Good for him, his choice. But don't try to convince me that winning 3 titles in watered-down college basketball is better than winning one in LA. Now, as you can imagine, when you put out some drivel like that, people are going to have some pushback. And so, obviously, it was in the comment section, and people were really letting them have it and letting them know that this take right here, this ain't it, Ed. This ain't it. This is not the hill you want to die on. And here's my thing on this, and why I vehemently disagree with what Eddie Johnson had to say in this particular tweet, because it's like implying that he was scared, or for one, that he didn't want the quote-unquote pressure of trying to win a championship with the Lakers, and obviously the whole watered down thing, which I'm going to go through these piece by piece. But let's start with, as he said, didn't want the pressure. It's not a matter of not wanting the pressure, because here's the thing, and this is going to bleed into maybe points 2 and 3. Last time I checked, college basketball, even at this current state, is not a walk in the park. So for you to sit there and say there's no pressure involved, like this is just coaching YMCA basketball and it's all easy, why don't you talk to the myriad of coaches every year who get fired in college athletics because they're not cutting it? Particularly if you're in a program that is either A, had success in the past, has success currently, or C, had success back in the day, and then you have a fan base that, based on that success, well, fan base and maybe administration or perception or whatever the case may be, has this overinflated view of the program based on past successes, and that in and of itself adds pressure to the job. So to say that a job in major athletics does not have pressure is ridiculous, first of all. So then here's the other thing. We're moving on to point. You get into the watered down thing. Here's what I don't like, and I don't know where this sentiment has come from of recent years. That if you don't like or you disagree with something that somebody does, or whatever the case is, you now feel you're well within your rights to tear down, or for the word that I'm looking for, but basically make whatever accomplishments that person has had to diminish. That's what I'm looking to say. To diminish their accomplishments, or diminish whatever they're doing in order to try to elevate what your point, because you don't agree with them, that somehow these are bootleg championships that he's won. And here's the thing, and people were pointing this out in the comment section, because you're saying this, that because the players don't stay anymore. And when we say that, let's be honest, we're not talking about the vast majority. We're talking about the 1% of college athletes who have an opportunity, who are good enough to ply their trades at a professional level. We're talking about the 5-star, the blue chippers, and last time I checked, those guys don't grow on trees, okay? They're spread very thin around the landscape of college athletics because there's not a lot of these guys. So we're not talking about loads of guys going into the NBA draft every year. So when you say that to try to diminish, it's not true, because and you can go in the comment section, and he was saying, well, he only has his guys for 6 months, and people were rightfully pushing back, saying that that's not even true. You're only talking about the super upper echelon. And he was like, well, that's still your best players, as if to say that because these guys are leaving. I don't even know what he was trying to say, actually. The point is it doesn't make sense. If you try to say that, it doesn't make sense. That yes, guys leave. Granted, they're not there as long, but you can make the argument that makes it more difficult, because the championships, say, because he brought up John Wooden, John Thompson, a Dean Smith, Roy Williams. Why am I drawing a blank on Syracuse's coach right now? But anyway, that those guys won back in the day. Yes, those players stayed more years. So yes, you had time to build program continuity and all of those things. And experience, and those things help you in those high leverage moments. No doubt about it. Not going to argue that. In this current landscape, it's not so much as you are building, is that you are reloading every year. So every year, it's not like maybe, you're at a Syracuse or something, all right, I got Ronnie Cycli, I got Pearl Washington, I got Sherman Douglas, or whoever, I got Derek Coleman, from year to year. So I know going into year, I kind of know based on my best players what I've got and what I can do and what we can implement and things of that nature. Whereas now you're almost getting a new crop every year. So you don't know almost from year to year. And I would make the argument that it makes it tougher to win, because you're literally winning with a new group of guys every year. And besides, if it was so watered down and so easy, who else is repeating in men's college basketball in recent years? I would submit to you, Mr. Eddie Johnson, if it was so easy. So I think it may actually even be a bit tougher. But and here's the other thing. Maybe, just maybe, and again, this was pointed out in the comments, that he sat down, talked with his family, he looked at what he had going on in stores, he looked at what he would be walking into in Los Angeles, and decided, this is not the fit for me. This would not be a wise career move. $70 million, be damned. Because just because the job is being offered in this instance doesn't mean you take it. Because, and I'm going to bring it down to us 9-to-5ers, because comparing regular jobs to college athletics 1-to-1 or professional athletics period just doesn't work. The best time and the most relaxing time to look for a job is when you have one, but not only have one that you wouldn't mind staying at, because you can look at things with a clear head. You're not as focused on just trying to find something, because when you're looking for that new job, either when you're trying to get out of a bad situation, you don't have a situation, you're approaching it with desperation. So out of desperation, you might look at a job that maybe normally would not be the best position for you to be in, but out of lack of options, you take it, and it ends up not being the most prudent move for you and you suffer some consequences in terms of, maybe derailing your career, having to, not being paid well, all of these things that you have to go through. So the fact that he goes in basically with a great job that he's helped turn it into again, to go back to if he decides to, allows him to look at this situation with an entirely different perspective. And it gives him leverage not only in the negotiations that went on with the Lakers, but also with UConn. Because if he continues to win at the level that he was, even if they don't three-peat this year, do you think the Lakers are going to be the last NBA team that comes around to Dan Hurley and kicks the proverbial tires? And maybe then, at that particular point, that there may be a better fit for a variety of reasons. And then he decides to take that job. And then he's more positioned to be successful. Because let's be honest, looking at the Lakers right now, yes, they have LeBron James. Yes, they have Anthony Davis. But you could make the argument that's part of the problem, at least as it relates to LeBron James, is why they're still without a head coach, and they're looking at hiring podcasters now. Because like I said, we saw what happened to Darvin Ham, and we see what it is to coach a LeBron James team, and we know that he has a whole heap of the carcasses of fired coaches in his wake. And do you want to be the latest victim of the LeBron James machine? And it seems to me that Dan Hurley decided that, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the next guy that gets the blame if they don't lose and none of the credit if they win. And you have to go in and you've got to engage in that fight with LeBron James and that machine in order just to try to do your job. And that is stressful. Why do you think Tyronn Lue was not chomping at the bit to take that job? I mean, we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, even in the state that they're in, still was one of the premier franchises, not only in the NBA, but in sports. And they're having trouble finding someone to coach this team right now. It just lets you know how far the panache, the cachet, the esteem of this franchise has fallen. So, no, I don't blame Dan Hurley one bit for returning to a good situation in UConn and not trading that for uncertainty, stress, and blame for coaching the Los Angeles Lakers. And Eddie Johnson, you're dead wrong for your take. And salute to the people in the comment section for letting him know that, even though he was trying to double down on what he had to say. And considering what he knows about the NBA and the and college athletics, I would expect him to have a much better take than what he displayed this morning. But I've kind of rambled on about this slightly longer than I intended. But what do you think about the comments of Eddie Johnson this morning? Do you agree with what he had to say? And Laker Nation, real Lakers Nation, were you disappointed that Dan Hurley decided to go back to stores? And also, who do you want to see fill in and become the next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? You can hop in the comments as well, and let's have a conversation about it. But as always, thank you for spending a few moments with us. We'll be back with more videos very soon. And as always, be sure to tell the ones that you love them. Peace.